Welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to put together a simple CME setup. What is CME, first of all? It stands for Cisco Communications Manager Express. What this basically is, it's a piece of software that you can add to a Cisco router to allow it to manage IP phones. Those little phones that you may see in offices that run over networking rather than the traditional cabling. So for this one, we are going to need a couple of virtual machines that we will run on VirtualBox. Though you can use any other virtual machine software that you want. We will require 3 virtual machines for this. We will need a Linux Mint machine and 2 Windows machines. Linux here will run our routers, and the 2 Windows machines will run an emulation software that will allow it to act as an IP phone. To do is make our Windows virtual machines. Now, I'm doing this in VirtualBox, but if you have a different virtualization software, you might have to make some tweaks to this process. But for VirtualBox here, we start by clicking New, and we'll give it a name. I'll just say CIPC 1. And then type, we'll want Windows, and then since I'm using server 64-bit, I'm just going to use other Windows 64-bit. Next, the memory size, so this is in megabytes. So what you can do is you can just scroll it like this, but you can change this later. I'll just leave it at 496 for now. I believe that's about 4 gigs, so that should be fine. Next, this is the hard disk. So this will take up space on your disk, so you should make sure and plan for that. Depending on which one you use, it will take up a certain amount of space. So we're going to create virtual hard disk now, and we're going to use virtual hard disk. And now this is an important one. This is something I messed up on earlier. You'll want to use dynamically allocated. This will basically grow how much storage you're using. So instead of using up a physical amount, it will sort of use that amount as sort of like a set cap. So this will actually take up only as much storage as you actually need, and then it will go up to whatever amount you set next. So dynamically allocated, and then we'll just set that at, I'll just set mine at 50 for now. But again, use dynamic so that it doesn't just automatically take up everything. And then go create, and then you have your CIPC here. Now, a few things we want to do first. We want to go into the system, so you see we have our memory here, all that. Go to storage. In this little DVD drive here, you'll want to add something. So if we just go, we can actually add another optical drive. And then you'll want to add in your evaluation, your ISO. So then it should boot up from that. Now, a few other things I want to use quickly. For the audio, you'll want to go with audio controller, Intel HD audio. This is just so you can get some audio out of your machines. If you don't want to get audio, then you can just skip this. And for network, we want to attach it to the same network, but since we want to get internet connection for something later, we're going to attach it to the NAT network right here. And under advanced, you want to go promiscuous mode, allow all. And then click OK, and it should all be good. Then you'll just want to power this on, and then you will basically just be taken through the Windows setup process as normal. Normal start. You'll want to make sure you have the right ISO selected. Start. You can go input, keyboard, Control-Delete, because if you do Control-Delete normally, it will show you, it will think it's doing it on your host machine, and it will attempt to shut down. So then we just enter our password, and then we should be brought right back into Windows. Download and install the CIPC software for your devices. Now you're going to want to do this on 2 different VMs that you will then connect to your 2 different routers. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the download site. I have it right here, but I've already downloaded it. So just go downloads, and then you'll want to run as administrator. Select your English, United States language, or whatever language you prefer. Next, accept the license agreement. Be careful about this. Some of this stuff can't be used in certain countries, so just be aware of that. But in where I am, in North America, it's fine. Next, next, and install. You will have to do a reboot after this. Finish. And then you will just restart this. I will pause the video, and we'll be back in a sec. And now sound on Windows Server is not usually enabled by default, so you have to go to Change System Sounds, and it'll ask you to start the service, just say yes. And here, you have all of this, and then you just go Window, Default. You'll see I have a bunch of stuff here. Play Windows Startup Sound, Apply. Sound service, then you'll go into your communicator, you'll do tune, next, next, does it play? I can hear stuff, but you can't, but it is definitely playing something. Test again, next, finish, it'll say unable to reach TFTP server. This is normal, so you'll want to say to use a certain TFTP server. In this case, it will be whatever your router is. So the one this one's going to be hooked up to is router 2, which is going to be 192.168.5.7. And then this will show up when you attempt to connect them. And then it'll just boot up. At this stage, you won't see anything much on the screen. That's because it hasn't associated itself with a router yet, or with the CME. Is make a Linux Mint VM. So we're just going to come down to VirtualBox here, and then we're going to go New, type in the name, test Mint, and then we'll type Linux, version Ubuntu 64-bit, since Linux Mint is an Ubuntu distribution. Next, memory size, I'm going to go 4096, which is about 4 gigabytes. Then can create a virtual hard disk now, create. I do a virtual hard disk, next. Then you want to do dynamically allocated, just so it doesn't immediately take up every bit of storage that you assign to it. And then we'll just assign it 40 gigabits, not 400, 40. Create. Then you want to right click, settings, and go to network. Attached to, this will go to the NAT network. Then under advanced, promiscuous mode, allow all. Press OK here. We have to go back in, go to storage, controller, and then you're going to want to add an optical drive, and you'll add the ISO for your distribution. So Linux Mint 18.3, choose, and you can just get rid of this one. Okay, and then start, normal start. Then you'll want to make sure you boot to Linux Mint, start. Start Linux Mint. Just give it a minute. Then you'll want to go install Linux Mint. Choose your language. You can just skip this one. Then erase disk and install Mint, since this is just a blank one. Continue. Choose your area. Choose your keyboard layout. I'll just keep mine as English US. And then you'll just create your username and password. So I'll just use my name, and then password. And it'll just tell you if it's a good password or not. I'd recommend using capitals, lower cases, and special characters. continue, and then it'll just install for a bit. And then it should just take you to the screen for logging in. We're going to now set up the routers on our Linux VMs. So the first thing you'll want to do is download these two files. I'll have links in the description. This one here will let you run the routers, and this one here will let you run the actual call management system. So it will actually let the phones connect to each other and manage it. So if we go into the shell here, you first run sudo apt-get install dynamips dynagen. I already ran this one. And then you'll want to create two directories, one within the other. The first one is Jarrad. As you can see, we went in there, then doing a list command, we saw our router, got the router there, and then you'll want to move the C7200 one here in the top left corner. Just move it into here with a simple move command. You can use present working directory, so pwd, that's your present working directory, and then you can just add in the file name with an extra slash, and then move it to a destination directory. In this case, this one here. Now we're going to look at the config file that I created called jrouter.conf, and it can really be any name you want, just as long as it has the conf at the end, as long as you remember it too. So this will be our startup configuration file. So working directory will be the directory that this file is stored in, and then you'll have router 1 and router 2. Both models will be the same. The only difference, other than losing these wick commands, is the console port number. So this first one is 2521, and this one is 2522, as well as changing this little F0 interface here, which will be tap 1 and tap 2. So we'll just quickly save that. And then once you are done, you can go out here and then run the commands dynamips -H 2000, and the and symbol will let you do this. And then you'll run dynagen, then the name of your config file, jrouter.conf in this case, and then it will show you this screen. And make sure you're in the right directory, or else you'll have to put in the whole path name. Now, to start the routers, you'll do start R1, we'll do this, says that started, start R2, and it'll start the other one. Then you'll want to do console R1 and console R2, just to get both consoles going. And then you'll want to go into another terminal, right here, and you can do telnet localhost, and then you'll want to do your port, and it'll bring you in there. And then we'll just make another one quickly, telnet localhost 2522. That'll bring you into these ones. And so I'm just gonna stop the video here because we need to do one thing before we do this. We are going to quickly put up a bridged interface on our VM. A bridged interface basically allows the VM to communicate with using your own network adapter, the physical one. So we're first gonna do sudo apt-get install bridge utils uml-utilities 4710. I already ran the installer on this, so it should be just fast. And then we're going to run just gonna back up the interfaces configuration with this command, sudo cp /etc network interfaces data p/etc/network/interfaces squiggly line /interfaces dash brackets data, or in parentheses, I think that's how you say it, year, day, and then second. Then we're gonna to edit the etc network interfaces file, so we'll do sudo gedit /etc/network/interfaces. As you can see, I've already edited this. It was just to quickly get this done. So this part here,
from auto L0 to iface LO inet loopback is there by default. So what you want to do is you want to add iface br0 inet static bridge underscore ports, and then this here is the and then the ENP0S3 is your adapter. So if you want to check that, you just go into here, and I have to do this one, ifconfig, and you'll see right here we have ENPS03. It'll have its own address, but we can change that around later. So then you bridge port, and then you'll have your address 192.168.5.1. You can just change this to whatever you want. Your net mask, and then your gateway, which will be the same as your address, since this is going to access the gateway basically. Then add this at the end, iface br0:0 inet dhcp. So we'll get an address, and then if we go to we'll just save this. I've already saved it, so it should be fine. And then you will want to restart your network by running the following command. Let me just exit out of that. Sudo service networking restart. What we're going to do is create our TFTP service on our Linux machine. First command we'll run is sudo apt get install tftpd. I've already installed it, so you'll just run through that, do yes. Then you'll want to edit this specific document, so sudo the editor of your choice, etc. /ximetd.d/tftp. Then you'll want to add in service tftpd, protocol UDP, socket type dgram, wait yes, user nobody, server, usr/bin.in.tftpd, server args tftp boot, and disable no. Then save it. Always make sure you save your files. Then you'll want to create your own directory called tftp boot. You'll just want to do this off of your root directory. I've already done that, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner. And then you'll want to copy the CME tar file that you have in your downloads folder and copy it to the tftp boot section. So in working directory, so it would be copy /home/Jarrad/downloads/ file name, cme.tar whatever, and then you will want to add your tftp boot as the destination. So /home/Jarrad/tftp boot. Okay, and then you will want to restart the xinet system. I don't know how to pronounce that. So sudo system restart zinit. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sure I'm going to butcher it. So do that, and we'll quickly restart it for you, and then you're good.
Started on our router configuration. So once you booted up your Linux Mint, go into a terminal and run dynamitps-h2000 and the little and symbol that you might see right here. Then go into another terminal and start your dynagen router config file. And in the next one, you want to sudo brctl addif br0 tap1 and tap2. You need to enter your sudo password for the first one. And then you'll want to run sudo ifconfig tap1 and tap2 up if you want to use both routers at once. Then come back to here where you ran your dynagen and start your routers. So I'm just going to do R2 quickly. Then you go into another one and you'll want to use telnet localhost whatever console number you configured for in your Dynagen file. And we're just going to ignore this error for now. It's nothing really important. We're going to go configure terminal. Just give it host name R2, R2D2. Then we're going to go interface FA0-0, and we'll give it an IP address of 192.168.5.255.255.255.0. That'll be our subnet mask. Then we'll also want to run a no shutdown command after this is done. No shut, that'll make sure the interface stays up. Let's go exit, do copy run start, just in case something crashes. Always good to do that when you're working on this stuff. And then we'll want to go exit so we can get back into our non-configure interface. And then we'll want to go archive tar-extract xtract space tftp. Then you'll want to do the IP of your Linux machine, so 192.168.5.30/CME-full-7.1.0.0.tar flash. Then I'll just flash it with a tar file. May have forgotten a space here. And then it should just run. I'll just pause for now. We have to format a disk 0 on this thing. So we just go format disk 0. Confirm. Format will destroy all data on disk 0, but this is a new one, so it should be fine. And then we should be able to run this again, but instead of flash 0, we do disk 0, the colon. And then this will take a while, so just leave it to run for now. And I will resume once this is all done. Is enable the GUI on our router. We're going to go enable. I've already logged in via telnet. It's just telnet localhost port number that you define for the router. And then we're going to do conft configure terminal IP HTTP server. That'll get the service started. Then you want to do the file path to the GUI file. So I do IP HTTP path disk 0 dash GUI. Oops, got the colon, and that just sets it to where the path is. Then you'll do telephony service. You can just do tele and then press the tab button. It'll autocomplete that for you. Then you'll want to do web admin system name. This will be your username, so I'll just go admin. And then password is whatever your password will be. I'll just use password in this case. Do not use password. It's a weak password. Don't recommend it, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Then we have dn web edit and time web edit. Next thing we're going to do is set up for our actual phones. So we're going to do max-ephones2. This basically says to our router, hey, we can only have 2 phones on this thing at once. Then you want to do IP source address. And then you'll want to use the IP address of your interface, 192.168.5.6, port 2000. This will come up. Then you'll want to do your max DN number. Now, this does not mean how many DNs can you have. It means what is the maximum file or maximum DN number that you can have. So if I was to do 25, say, I couldn't say DN 1000, and that would take up 1 slot. This is basically the numbers themselves. So since I'm going to be using some pretty high numbers, I'm going to use 1000. You can say a system message. Just type out your message. I'll just say hello. And then you'll go create cnf-files. Clock is not set or synced, so that's fine for demonstration purposes. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do is add a phone to our router. So this is a fairly simple setup here. So first, just do a ping on your Windows machine to make sure you can actually contact it. As you can see, mine works just fine. Then you'll also want to pre-start up your Cisco IP communicator, just so it's up and running. The next thing you want to do is access the router's HTTP service. So you'll enter http:// the IP address of your router's interface /ccme.html, and that will get you to this. Just type in your admin password, your username and password that was defined with system web admin, and just give it a minute. And then it'll bring you to this page. And then the next thing that we'll want to do is quickly add the router, or no, add the phone, sorry. So the first thing we'll want to do is just make sure our phone is pointed to the right place. So we'll go Menu, Preferences, Network. Under TFTP servers, server 1, make sure you're running it to your router. And that should be fine. We'll close this off. We're going to go Configure phones, add, and then this should be yours right here. Add that, and then you don't need too much else in this. This is all just some extra stuff, so you can just go add here, save changes, and then if you refresh the screen, it'll say right here. Then you want to go to extensions, add an extension, so we'll give it so the extension we'll give it is going to be 78.68. Sorry, 46. So this should work. And then you can also add a name, so I'll just say Skywalker. Those of you fans of Star Wars out there. If I go scroll down, click add, save changes, just refresh that. Then you want to go back into here. Guys, so if you can't get into the GUI to add a phone, there's a way to do it in command line. So you'll first want to go to your configuration in your router, and you want to go ephone, and then just state your number. So I'll just do this as a quick example for you guys. Then you'll want to give it a MAC address, and you'll want to do it like this: MAC address, and then the first four numbers. So I'll just go 000. Then the second four numbers, 1111, and then the last three numbers, 2.2.2, and then you can just exit out of that. Then you'll want to create a new DN. So we'll just go into the phone, you will go ephone-dn, then this will be the number that it will be, sort of like a number ID. So it won't be the actual number, but it'll be the first, the second, the third, whatever you want. So I'll just do 2. And then you can go number, and then this will be the actual DN. So I can just do 11111. But you would want to use your actual DN numbers. So for mine, I had 7646, something to that extent. numbers, do show, or in this case, do show, since you're in config, show dn dash, and I'll show you here. And then you can also add a name too, so this one is the one I just made. It's not configured with the name, but it is configured with this number. But as you can see here, this is the one I originally made. Named it solo, and number 7946. So yeah, that's how you add. Is add a dial peer. This will essentially allow us to call phones that are on other CMEs. So doing this is actually fairly simple. You just need to make sure you have knowledge of your deployment. So the first thing that we are going to do is enter dial-peer voice to VoIP. What's that? And then we want to enter our destination pattern. So that will be whatever the DN of your phone on the other side is. So in my case, it will be 7946. Destination dash pattern. There we go. We'll do that. And then you want to do a session target IPv4, and then the address of whatever your target server's IP address is going to be. So in my case, if I look at my documentation that I have on the left here, it will be 192.168.5.7. Oops. So sorry, I made a small mistake there. You need to have colon there. You want to exit. Do copy run start, just in case your thing goes down. And then you should be good. Just make sure that all of these settings on your routers, you have to copy them onto your second router. Now, a few things I should mention about that. You'll obviously want to use a different IP address in the same subnet range. So if my subnet was 192.168.5.0.255.255.255.0, then I can keep the 192.168 and 5. I just need to use a different number for the last octet, so the last part here after the last dot. Then for your DN, you'll obviously want to use something different. And then for the destination pattern in specific, you'll want to use the destination pattern of the DN of the phone that is connected to this router. So in my case, it is 7846. And then for session target, you'll want to use this IP address that you have on this router. So do show IP in brief. So you'll want to use this address. But So to make a long story short, just copy the most part of what you've done, except for changing a few things. Session target should be different. The destination pattern should be different. And that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so now that we have our dial peers up, we should be able to call between these two phones. You might want to do some ping tests to make sure each of the components can ping each other, but I'm pretty confident right now, so just do new call, 7946. As you can see, this one is ringing, so it was an absolute success. Let me just end call here.